The ethics office later explained its tweet was not about what Mr. Trump promised to do or even will do, but how we can absolutely avoid all conflicts of interest. Jamie, transition officials also tell us Mr. Trump will still not release his federal income tax returns as part of this process.
Interesting. I want to ask you a couple questions about this deal with Carrier. We know that it'll keep close to 1,000 jobs in the United States. It's an air conditioning company, but we don't really know much about what Trump and Pence offered in return. A lot of people talking about this. Will Trump's transition have to give more details on that, or is it just a done deal?
Well, Carrier put out a statement this afternoon that said two things. One, that there's a better business climate promised by the incoming Trump and Pence administration. That's a reference to lower corporate income tax levels. Steve Mnuchin, the nominee for Treasury Secretary, went on CNBC today and said the administration will push very hard for a corporate tax rate of 15%, well below its current rate of 35%. Carrier and other American businesses would consider that something that would make the overall business climate much more favorable. Carrier also in its statement made a reference to incentives provided by the state of Indiana, which we should all remember is still governed by Governor Mike Pence, who is the vice president-elect. And governors have for many, many years provided tax incentives to induce corporations either to come to their state or, if they're threatening to leave, stay in their state. That's not new. But the optics, the framing of this, the context of it all coming after President-elect Trump's victory, his long-stated promise to work hard to keep American jobs in this country, and, for that matter, his unrelenting criticism of Carrier for threatening to take these jobs out of Indiana and move them to Mexico, puts all of this in a context that is, politically speaking, a complete victory for Trump, because American workers will say, he identified this issue, he said he would do something about it, and he did something about it. That the thing he did is a somewhat traditional state-level approach to induce companies to stay doesn't really matter. In the political context, this will be seen as, and certainly advertised as by the Trump transition, an early victory for American workers.
Very convenient there. Major Trump's kicking off his thank you tour in Cincinnati Thursday. He's expected to make more stops before the inauguration in other states that he won. He's talked about wanting to get back to the battleground states to thank them. What's the transition hoping to get out of this besides pictures in the media?
Well, a sense that this is an American conversation, this is an American victory, and the hard-fought states where Trump took his message responded. And he wants to say, hey, isn't it great? You listened, you voted, and we won, and we're going to change the country for the better. And I can tell you, my expectation, having attended more than 70 Trump rallies around this country, many of them in these very same battleground states, the same people who were at those rallies are likely to show up and probably be joined by many others to see President-elect Trump, who they only imagined might be president when they were going to these rallies when he was a candidate. It is about building political capital. It's about building momentum. It's about sending a message to every member of Congress. Hey, this is not an ordinary president-elect. This is someone who can and will harness the popular support of as many of the American people as he can find in as many battleground states as he can find before the inauguration. So every member of Congress is well acquainted with his ability to draw crowds, get cheers, and build political clout for himself as he approaches Inauguration Day. That's all part of a long-term political strategy to give him maximum clout once the tussling with Congress begins. Even one dominated by Republicans, there will still be tussling. What Trump wants every member of Congress to remember is he was elected, number one, something they won't forget, but also that he can draw crowds, and those crowds will be with him, not them, if the tussles get too difficult.
Yeah, it's good messaging for sure.